I believe that God is inviting us to become a living prophecy in our generation. How is He doing that? Welcome to CITAM ChurchOnline. This is Pastor Karita Mbagara, the Deputy Bishop of Christ is the Answer Ministries. In the book of Isaiah chapter 8, verse 18, Isaiah says the following about himself. Here I am, and the children the Lord has given me. We are signs and symbols in Israel from the Lord Almighty who dwells on Mount Zion. Isaiah was a prophet by, calling, and he had 3 sons, or some people will say 2 sons. The first son was called Shear-Hashbab. It's a difficult name. You can find it in the book of Isaiah chapter 7 verse 6. And that son's name meant a remnant shall return. A remnant shall return. Isaiah himself, his name means Jehovah is salvation. He had another son who we find in chapter 8, and the name is quite long. You can read in the book of Isaiah chapter 8 from verse 1 onwards, and it says, quick to plunder. The name meant quick to plunder or swift to spoil. Swift to spoil. There is a contention, not agreed, that also Isaiah actually got a son that was called Emmanuel. And we all know what Emmanuel means, God with us. But even if we take it that he had only the other 2 sons, and Emmanuel was just a prophetic utterance, we find that the names of these 3 people, both Isaiah and his 2 sons, were speaking of a prophetic message from God. Whenever you called them, they were reminding people of what God had said. Isaiah was reminding people that Jehovah is salvation. His firstborn was reminding them that a remnant will return. It was a time when he was prophesying that Judah would go to captivity, but he was reminding them that there is hope because there will be a remnant and that will return. But also telling them, because of your sin, you will be punished. This was a prophetic message, a foretelling of things that would be happening. But then the 3rd son was, being used to speak. At the time the son was being born, the Assyrians were the ones that were going to take over. The people of Judah were very fearful of the Syrians, who were joining an alliance with the people of they were joining alliance with the people of Israel to come against Judah. Israel was the northern kingdom. And the people in Judah were trying to go into an alliance with the Assyrians to ensure that the Syrians and the people of Israel would not defeat Judah. But God was against them. And if you read chapter 8, he is telling them that you are choosing a flood instead of a stream that is flowing silently, and other metaphors like you are choosing darkness instead of light. And so this son of Isaiah was prophesying and saying that within a short time, the Assyrians would ascend, defeat both Israel, but also defeat the people of Judah. But what I want to take note of is that there was a God who was speaking. We have been told by Francis Schaeffer of the God who is there, by the book that he wrote by that title, The God Who Is There. But today I'm here to tell you, our God is not only there, but he is a God who speaks. And he speaks through his people. And he wants his people to become the living testimony. He wants his people to become the living prophecy, the ones that are pronouncing his word. And when people look at them, they get the message of God. And so the question that I want to pose to you, my friend, is this. When people look at you, what kind of message do they get concerning God? Do they say that God is a good God? Do they say that God is a loving God? Do they say that God is a caring God? From what they see in your life, are you a living prophecy? Are you a living testimony of who God is? Or are you sending a message that does not represent God? It may be representing the opposition. It may be representing the devil. God is inviting us to be like Isaiah and his family. God wants the world to know that he is not only there, but he is living and he is speaking, and he is speaking through you and me who claim to be Christians. What sort of a Christian are you? What sort of a Christian am I? That's a question that we must keep asking. I think the other observation I want to make from this text is this, that the message of God is supposed to be generational. Isaiah was the father, was definitely older than his sons. He was going to pass on. But we see that he is leaving a legacy in that he has sons that will continue proclaiming the message of God. The question, therefore, is, are you living in such a way that you are impacting the next generation? Are you leaving another son, spiritually so, or even physically? Are your sons following the ways of God because of how you are bringing them up? Or are you just living for the moment? We are called to be witnesses in our time, but to ensure that there is a legacy, that we are leaving a message behind of who God is and what God is through those that are following in our steps. And I want to challenge you to consider this verse and maybe rewrite it so that instead of Isaiah being the one who is saying, I am sign, I and the sons God has given me are signs and symbols in Israel, you will be saying, I and the people and the sons and the people that God has given me influence over, we are signs and symbols of God's message to the people that you are living among. May God bless you as you actuate this, as you appropriate this word, so that you will be a blessing now and in the future, even when you have left. Thank you very much for listening to me. If this is a blessing to you, please share it and invite others to watch. And may I also ask, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe so that whenever we put up a video, you can be able to be notified and we can continue in fellowship. Let me also hear what you think about what I have said. God bless you.